Hello, my fellow readers. This is Dark Symphony 777 with another fanfiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, and leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. And finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the story I am doing a review of is Through Her Eyes by Starlit Duck. It is the next episode of Super Koopalings. And oh boy, we got the big one. We got according to Star, this is Star Wars. The original version of episode 6 was probably her least favorite written. So hence why she did the Redux version. I believe she specifically mentioned, like, please just read the redone version. I'm like, okay. Which is what I'm reviewing. So, let's talk about the plot. So the plot is a continuation of episode 1, which introduces the character of Celia Patch. This story is pretty much a follow-up to that specific episode. The plot basically starts with not Celia, but actually Roy, and he's kind of getting worried about Celia. And he basically asks Cammy, he's like, hey, I have this girl. It's like, wow, Roy. How many girls is it this week? And then, no, I'm pretty sure she likes me too. Like, oh my god, it's a miracle. And so Roy tells him the situation. He's kind of worried about what happened with Celia after they kind of separated and kind of wondering what she's been up to. So Kamek created a memory sphere to basically capture her memories and kind of show Roy. And so the rest of the story is from Celia's point of view. That's basically a majority of how the story is presented. It's first person. I thought it's at least unique. And the plot after that basically takes place a couple weeks after, sometime after they already left in episode 1. Celia is still recovering, and then she manages to she gets healed with a one-up mushroom. She convinces her father, Saladay, to go visit his family, so that way, kind of trying to patch things up. Mavery is still still Mavery, the racist old Koopa. However, Saladay's not Saladay, Singe's, my bad. Singe is the father. Saladay is the grandfather. However, they visit Saladay in the hospital because he has terminal disease. And Saladay basically asks Singe, like, before I die, I want to meet your wife. I want to meet Celia's mother at least one time before I pass away. They go to Ruby, Miss Pinch, and Ruby kind of freaks out and kind of gets justifiably upset that Singe was gone all these years and he came back just for a favor. And Celia's trying to be peacekeeper and trying to fix things, but then she goes to the Starby Society run by Tamarak. He's saying that she's like, I want can magic help me? It's like, no, because magic will always make things worse. However, what Tamarak didn't foresaw coming, Celia grabbed a love potion, hid it, and then basically gave it to her mother to drink in, I think, what kind of juice? I think it was some kind of juice. And so, she starts falling in love with Singe, and she starts kind of going psycho because she kind of becomes more and more unhinged and obsessed and thinking of that even her daughter is like, my daughter's gonna hook up with the love of my life, but he's my daddy. Have you even seen those videos? What videos? Nothing you know about, dear. Nothing you know about. To the point where Celia gets kicked out of the Starby Society once it's found out. Ruby fights with the grandparent and getting into an argument with the grandparents, all leading to a small little climax of Celia about to be killed by her mother because under the effects of the love potion, Singe knocks her out. They get the antidote, and then they kind of chase each other. And then Ruby, extremely exhausted, trying to like heal her mother, and then eventually she passes out for about 2 days. They wake up, and she wakes up. Her parents like, we're gonna give it another shot. And then it ends with Roy being happy that, hey, she did okay for herself. She's kind of did stupid things, but you know. These terms for the plot, it's I'm kind of mixed about it. This is a story that Star is most proud of, and I have to agree to a point. I really like the overall idea of like of basically the lesson, in that sometimes that with certain things like this, there's no fixing it. Like, so there's certain situations where there's no fixing it, and I think that's a really nice lesson for the context. Like, which leads to the end where I think the author kind of bungled it, because I really think we should have gotten some context of them talking while Celia was asleep. I get why she couldn't, because the whole story was basically first point of view from Celia's point of view, so I can kind of get why the author wasn't able to do that, but it honestly, the ending feels like there is a large part missing in the end, where that's supposed to like them slowly kind of find compassion over what she did and what she did was wrong. And it honestly feels like it feels like a cop out, because Celia was like, there was 2 lessons. One, that basically stuff like this has consequences, because she stole a love potion, despite the fact Camargue basically warned her, said, this is a bad, never use magic to solve your problem because it will always backfire. And then when she says, okay, you're not part of the Starbite Society anymore, she's like, she's like, she brushes it off. And then when she wakes up and they kind of, and Singe and Ruby kind of talk and reveals like, oh, we might have we're going to give it another shot. It did come up with the impression that it kind of a cop-out sort of thing. Because I think with something as big as like the father leaving for 16 years, you would think that they wouldn't try to patch things up immediately. Like they would at least be a little more time. Like maybe saying they were friends or something like that. And all that jazz. But I did like the whole thing, like with at the end where Kamek asks, "Hey, you were expecting Ruby to be like goody two shoes?" And Rug literally without hesitation goes, "Nope, I was expecting her to do something like this sooner or later." It shows that Roy doesn't really care if she behaves or like good or bad. It's like, I love Celia for Celia, laws and all. And that's basically the plot. In terms of characters, there is another kind of weak link in this story, because unlike most stories, we kind of have the Koopalings who are basically already known characters, kind of grounding the whole series. It's just what the author does with them. But this story, with the exception of the first and last chapter, it's pretty much all original characters. And that's where I think this story suffers the most in terms of the basic concept of the series is, with being very short, being very bite-sized, having lots of goofy adventures and stuff like that, very sitcom-y, cartoon-esque. In that, instead of having a group of characters you kind of know, you're lumped in with a bunch of characters you don't really know, and you're given such a small time frame to get to know them. And that's where I think this story's biggest flaw lies, is we're not giving enough time to really grow to acquaint these characters. I'm pretty sure Celia is going to show up again in the future. Like, it from this story, I can tell that, there's more to tell with Celia and stuff like that, but I don't know how much more that the author is going to do with the grandparents or even Ruby and Singe. Like Celia, I easily see her start doing more stuff with her, but not so much everyone else. So I honestly think this was a massive missed opportunity to basically expand on them as much as possible. Granted, I could be wrong. It's a series. There is still a chance that they might show up in the future, but I think, with the exception of Celia, this is pretty much it for them. But, I've been proven wrong before. I can be proven wrong again. Prove me wrong, Star. Pacing, just like the characters, the whole idea kind of backfires against this story. I do think, in terms of like the sentence structure in it, it being first person was the right call. If you don't like, to those of you who are like new to the channel, I'm not a fan of first person stories. I despise them. I just have so much trouble reading the dang things that I try not to review, not to do any first person stories a lot. But this story, being first person, right call, it really would have sunk a lot of what the story was going for if it wasn't first person. But pace-wise, it was a little too fast. Specifically at the end, everything from pacing was going well. It was moving quite fast, but not fast enough that you're still kind of getting used to the characters and the world and kind of being introduced. But then at the end, with the climax, it was just rushed through, and it completely sapped any enjoyment I had over the entire ending. And it really sunk the quality. I really liked everything about this story except for like the last 3-4 chapters. Those last 3-4 chapters completely sunk it from being probably the best story in the series. I would put it at the second best, but not the first best. The first one is still episode 4, I believe. Let me actually look real quick. I'm just trying to remember. As it stands right now, Runaway Reptile is still my personal favorite so far. But this story is a very close second. If that ending stuck better, it would have been better than Runaway Reptile. And finally, grammar errors. There's no grammar errors that I could see. Again, I seem to have trouble with like first person things, so I see, like, I just have trouble with them. Would I recommend this story? I would. I do think there's a lot to love about the story. I love the concept. I love the setup. Really, my only problem was that climax and the ending. It was very weak for what it needed to do. It was very anticlimactic. The lessons were completely forgotten about because Celia literally didn't care about being kicked out of the Starbite Society, and the fact that the ending pretty much said, "Oh, Singe and Ruby are already made up off story." It really, really rushed in that regard. So, what would I do? Oh wait, I didn't finish what I recommend. Yeah, I would recommend it. There's a lot to love, and that's pretty much with that. What would I change? Honestly, this is a big one. First off, let's start with the tags. OC Roy didn't need to be here because Celia doesn't really interact with Roy. She mentioned Roy, but she doesn't really interact with him, so I wouldn't. So let's make it so. So, unlike most stories where I said, oh, here's a bad part, here's where I can make it better, this is a good story, and I'm going to see if I can try and make it great. So, what would I change? First off, the length. I know the whole point of this series is supposed to be short stories. They're supposed to be short, at least 30, at the most 30,000 stories. This story needed to be an exception. This story needs to be an exception to get the most out of the emotional impact of Celia's character arc, the mother's character, and her parents. I meant the whole idea thing with their parents, the whole ramifications of what Celia did was wrong. Her grandparents, and how they're working in this story. This story needs to be longer. That's basically the crux of fixing the story. It needs to be longer to basically go, here's basically what needs to be a story. Again, you don't have to take these to heart. These are just advice. Advice can be ignored. That's fine. I won't lose some sleep if you don't take the advice, so I understand if you don't want to, or if you do. Up to you. The first thing I would do is keep the tag, because despite the fact I said Celia and Roy don't really talk to each other, so there's no need for it. In this case, we're going to make it so. So the first thing we should do is have the first chapter play out pretty much exactly as is, with Roy going to see Kamek and finding out the memory spirits and stuff like that, what's happened with Celia. However, we're going to do things differently. The basis is going to be the same, but it's going to be done differently. So basically, I think this story has the best chance of doing a full dive in how memory spheres work, how they're made, basically the whole shebang. I think that really should be told in this story. And really the best way to do that would to have Celia involved. So instead of Kamek basically just doing the spell, here's the memory sphere, Kamek and Roy go to find Celia. And, they find Celia, and Celia really doesn't want to talk to them. She realizes, I do like you, but I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. So, and I don't know if I can tell you about it. Then Kamek goes, now I can do it, and you can, and so that way you don't have to say anything. I'll make a memory sphere, use your memories, give to Roy. And Celia becomes very hesitant. She realizes because we should give the idea that Celia doesn't want Roy to see that what she did, despite the fact Roy knows that he doesn't care if she does anything big because he still likes her anyway. We should get the impression that Celia doesn't want Roy to know these things. So having Celia involved from the get-go instead of in a memory, having Celia with Roy the entire time as sort of a background figure would draw a lot of weight to the ending. And so, and instead of in the castle, they do it in Celia's home in Stonewall. And then have the story kind of go with, but have a lot more exposition. This is a drama family story. And that's a really good, for this context, it's a really good combination of genres. Have the story start playing out, but go into more detail, go into more kind of fill in the blanks of what happened with Singe. Maybe have a couple paragraphs dedicated to what Singe has been up to the entire time while he was gone. Get more context into him. Still keep it very Celia-centric. But that's it. The reason I say that is for later. Keep it the same as is, just expand more upon it. Have, like I said, Singe kind of going into detail what he's been up to in the last 16 years, because, that's a long time to be stuck in the forest of illusion. So it makes sense to have an info dump over what he's been doing and, what he has done. It helps. Celia is still recovering. Sin shows up, gives her the 1-up mushroom. She eats it, and she said, I want you to go try and confront your parents. Singe is very hesitant because the whole reason why he left Ruby and Celia is because her mother was flat out racist. And that's basically, like Celia, like maybe just talk to him, have a little more conversation, saying like, or maybe just tell her that Saladay kind of mellowed out, like he's not really racist anymore. Your mother probably, but your father, he just wants to see you in, and then that convinces Singe to go. So they do the whole thing. They go to the forest. Singe just like, I walked this much in so long. They travel across the ocean to back home to Bowser's world. They meet the grandparents. The grandmother is still completely racist. The father is still there. He's not in the hospital yet. Have the mother completely confront them over, still argue about this being racist towards Celia and stuff like that. Singe confronts her, and then and then Saladay goes to basically chew out his wife, and to show Singe that he really is a changed man. And then Saladay collapses. He gets sent to the hospital. They're in the hospital. Saladay, they argue. Celia and the grandmother, they argue some more. The grandmother leaves. Because it doesn't have to be by Celia, it can be by a doctor, basically tells her you're stressing the family out, please stop it. And then the grandmother's like, I don't have to put up with you, and so she storms out. Saladay politely asks him, said, I know I'm dying. I have been, and kind of get that whole information from him instead of the grandmother. He's terminal. He doesn't have that much long to live. He wants one last wish, and that's to see Ruby. And so Singe goes, we'll make it work. We'll try it, but he's very, very scared. Singe is very, very scared of what Ruby will justifiably do. Come on, anyone would be mad if you randomly just disappeared for 16 years. Doesn't matter how patient you are, doesn't matter who you are, someone's gotta be pissed if that happens to you. So yeah, he would justifiably be scared over getting yelled at by a woman who has justified feelings of anger against him. Saladay, but he does it for the sake of his grandfather. So they travel, have a couple of chapters of them actually traveling, get to know the dynamic between Celia and Singe for a little bit, maybe have them visit some other towns to kind of zero in on what Singe's character truly is. He should be a hardworking, somewhat selfless guy who's maybe make him a handyman. Like a carpenter. Make him a carpenter. And so they travel through different towns. They maybe another mention of Frostwall. I think that would kind of work in this case. Like Singe kind of telling Celia about some of the towns, and he slightly mentions Frostwall. He's like, something happened with, like, all he knows about Frostwall is something bad happened, and the town has been deserted ever since. Like, to hype up that thing more. And then they meet Ruby's mother. And instead of her just throwing them out, yelling at them, have Singe exchange some pleasantries. Have it start out at least very tense, but also cordial. Celia starts crying. I mean, that's not Celia. Ruby starts crying that Singe is back. They say hi, and then Singe drops the favor, and then Ruby gets mad. Have her slap him, like try and justify as much as you can that she's hurt. She's heartbroken. Her soul is shattered over what he did, and make it as justified as possible. Have her go full off on him. Have her go full off on Celia when she tries to stick up for him and tries to explain the situation. And then they try one more time. And then she slams the door. They try one more time. She basically says, please, Celia, I don't want to see him. I just want time to think about it. I want time to digest what is going on. Leave. And leave. right now before I call the police. Singe, heartbroken, leaves. Celia goes inside, talks with her mom, explains the situation, realizes that he's upset. You don't have to explain that, why he left yet, but explain why he was there. Have Celia explain that his father's dying. He wants to see you. Have her still be mad, be furious, completely tumultuous, but still be justified in everything she says. Have her chew out Celia again, and then at the end of that second argument between them, have her be burnt out, and have her empty. Says, I'm gonna make you a sandwich. Celia goes up, can sleep, goes to the Starbite Society, grabs a love potion, basically have that play out a little bit more, but kind of get more into have Celia ask Camark what Celia like, and basically just do anything really. Like, you can have Camark say he doesn't really know who Ruby is that much, or even ask what Ruby and Singe was like, to try and hopefully help her. Celia sees the love potion, grabs the love potion, sneaks it, and talks with Camark some more. The whole thing with magic is very dangerous, stuff like that. And then we have an interlude right in the middle, right when Celia pulls out the love potion. We cut to Roy, Celia, and Kamek. Celia's crying. Roy comforts her. Asks her, like, why are you crying? Because I don't want this to continue. Because what you're going to see next is going to be really bad. And Kamek really kind of says, I will try to find Camark, try and talk to him, see, tell him what I've seen. Maybe, it might not be so bad. And then Celia starts crying even worse. She's like, I really don't want Roy to see this. She runs away. Kamek tells Roy, said, I already have the second half of the memories already in a separate orb. Go comfort her. When you come back, we'll do it then. Roy leaves, finds Celia crying in a bathroom, maybe either the bathroom or crying with Wendy. Those would be my two best bets. They talk. Celia pours her heart out, saying that Roy is going to think how bad she is, how she's a monster and stuff like that. And try and get it in her head that everything her grandmother said was completely justified. Roy says, no, I love you. There's nothing you can do to change that. And then maybe Wendy again, if Wendy does get involved. They hug, and Celia with tears in her eyes, they go. You can have Wendy join them. Said, I will come. You can have Wendy go, I will come too. Us girls gotta stick together. And then they go. And Roy and also Wendy kind of see the rest of it. With like a recap of like Roy telling Wendy, everything in the first half. And then the second half plays pretty much more or less like the same. Celia poisons her mother with the love potion. She starts going crazy. She meets her parents. She meets the grandparents. Grandmother's really crazy, but the grandfather is really cool with it. And he mentioned that he's very glad to see her before he passes away. Don't have him pass away though. No, not yet. And then we slowly see Ruby's mind deteriorating. And, she started to start crazy. You could have, on the way from the hospital to home, you could have her actually start getting defensive of the girls getting near Singe. Like a girl Koopa can pass by, say hi to Singe. Singe goes to wave his hand, and Ruby starts growling at the girl. Like, you can have other foreshadowing tools of them kind of doing things. Celia can say that it's kind of off, but like Singe, like you can also have her looking at Singe, and Singe is like getting kind of nervous. Have it play out like that with Singe expressing his worries of just, hey, something's wrong with Ruby. It's like, nonsense. She loves you. She misses you. It's been 16 long years. Like, that's what I'm worried about. It's been 6 years. She should be more pissed. Which is true. Like he would be kind of like understandably confused. Like, wait, she's been mad at me for 16 years, and all of a sudden, it's just completely forgotten. I don't buy this. Have her kind of wonder. Have Singe wonder if maybe magic's at play, and like Celia starts deflecting, starts defending. It's like, no. Make it pretty obvious, but Singe kind of buys into it. But Celia kind of throws him something. Go on a date with your mom. Go on a date with my wife. With my mom. And it was like, okay. And so they leave. Celia goes around cleaning the house, kind of wondering about what, kind of maybe have like a little imagined spot of all the good things they're gonna go do, and wonder, and also, Mark was wrong. There's nothing that can go wrong. And then shit hits the fan with, like, instead of normally have an extra chapter where the cops are called. Like during the date, Ruby attacks Koopa Girl because she thinks Singe might be cheating on her with the Koopa. She gets arrested. She gets sent to jail. They pay bond because they're wondering what the hell happened. And then Celia goes off the deep end with freaking out. And she grabs Singe and Celia. She drags them home, and and then when she drags them home, they go crazy. Like, they find out the situation, what happened with Koopa. Like, it can be any benign thing. She's off for deep end. She starts attack, like, and then she completely loses it. She thinks even Celia is trying to cheat, trying to rope her father. It's really weird. Like, I know I have a feeling Star probably won't want to go that route, but I think in this context it works. Go like the pseudo incestuous route, like Ruby convinced that her own daughter is trying to get into daddy's pants, but because her mind is that corrupt and clouded that she would believably believe that in her own mind and try and justify it. And so she loses it. She attacks it. She throws Singe to the ground and Ruby starts attacking Celia. And, they start fighting, and Singe is, like, freaking out, and he's like, oh, shit, and he's trying to get him out, but it's, like, every time. And Celia is, like, defending herself. Like, you don't have to have her fully on attack. You can just have her, like, deflectable, like, fist. Like, pull up her arms, like, in front of her face, or, like, grab the fist and, like, move it out of the way, while also just trying, and maybe add in the slaps, like have her, like, have Celia just boom right across her mom's face, and then her mom just stuns, like, and then she turns and then goes to grab a knife from, like, a nearby, like, have a move around to somewhere where Ruby can grab a weapon and try and basically kill her. Singe knocks her out with the frying pan. Go all Super Smash Bros. Peach on her with the frying pan. Knock her out. Celia tells her father the truth about the love potion. They go to Mark. Have Mark treat Singe and everything. They tell him the truth. Mark not only make the punishment more severe, saying not only is Celia just not a member of the Starbite Society anymore, but she must commit I'm trying to think what would be a fitting, because the story makes it very clear that she doesn't really care that she got kicked out. So I'm trying to figure out how. Oh, there's an idea. Have Singe get kicked out too, because she knows that Singe really liked the Starbite Society. It said you and your father are both removed from the Starbite Society. Singe probably just Singe is like, but with her father getting kicked out, she would probably get a little more missed. Like, no, don't punish him, punish me. And it's like, and even kind of lampshade the fact that she really wouldn't care if she got kicked out. It's like, well, I haven't met her. This is like the first time you visit in like so long. I figured you probably don't care if you get kicked out. Or at least just rewrite it that, she did visit several times, like before she got kicked out, just to say hi and everything. So they get the antidote. They go to the house. They're about to. Singe is understandably pissed, and on the way there, they get a conversation saying that she shouldn't have done that. They hammer in that lesson that she should not have done that. They get home saying, "You're gonna have to do it." So I wait outside. Celia, tired because she hasn't slept in like a couple days. She goes to inject the antidote. Her mom wakes up, attacks her, and then she sees Singe out the window. She jumps out the window, and the chase is on. So Celia chases Ruby, who's chasing Singe, all across the town, and have the chase be longer and slightly more disastrous. Like have the mother be so deranged that she actually starts to not feel pain, and so she's like completely attacking everyone. Like anyone who gets in the way of her Singe, have them beat up, have them just basically wail on them. Celia several times tries to attack her, but Ruby knows she's there and basically hits her daughter. Even throw like a little joke where like a Starbucks joke saying like, "Said you're tired," and she sees like a Koopa with like a Starbucks coffee cup. It's like, yeah. It's like, drink some of this, and she's like, "This is good, but not Dunkin' Donuts good." It's like, hey, wait a minute, you owe me $20 for the coffee. You could do like a little dig towards Starbucks. Damn, because Starbucks is overly expensive. Who wants $20 for a coffee? Is it $20 for a coffee? I only had Starbucks one time to eat a croissant because I was that hungry. And I was willing to subjugate myself to Starbucks. But have the chase go on more with the mother slowly getting like banged up and dinged and cut and bruises and all that sort of thing. But she's not giving up because the potion has clouded her and corrupted her mind to such a point where she basically, again, can't feel any more pain, and she doesn't realize how much that she actually has the risk of dying. Have them go into the bakery, have them go into like a library or the stuff, maybe something with power tools. Singe realizes that Celia alone will not be able to stop her, so basically Singe is like, okay, fine, we'll talk about this after we help your mother. And they basically think of a plan to basically say, "Oh, I love you too, honey. Hug." Ruby's like, "Yay!" And then she's like freaking out, and she hugs him, and then he goes, "Celia, now!" And then plunges it into her neck. And then Celia plunges the syringe into her neck, curing her. Ruby wakes up from her daze, covered in blood, like bleeding out of like a bunch of cuts in her body from like breaking glass, and also possibly broken bones from like hitting a bunch of people. And she weakly looks up at Singe and then looks up at Celia and said, where am I? And then she just basically passes out. And Singe goes, okay, now we gotta take her to the hospital, right, Celia? And then Celia passes out too from exhaustion. And then have the final chapter of that be after 2 days, Celia wakes up. She's in the hospital in the same room with her mom. She looks, sees her mom still recovering, handcuffs on her wrist and on the bed, but awake. And she talks to him and says, I just wanted a happy family, because this is something she's never had all her life. She's never had a happy family. Now she had a chance to have a happy family, and she became desperate to wanting it. And Singe and Ruby They look at each other, they understand, but then they also tell her that such scars will not go away so easily. But they also tell each other that they are willing to try another chance just right now. Just not now, maybe in a couple weeks when they become friends and everything passes and Ruby is healed, and then maybe they can see each other as friends, and then maybe they can see each other as more. But they make sure to tell her that sometimes stuff like this it never go away. Like it's not gonna go away like that. It's sometimes it happens, and that should be the real lesson of that story. And then the epilogue kind of plays out the same way with Celia crying, like in tears, wondering what Roy thinks of her. Like she tells Roy, like, you must think I'm a monster for everything that happened, for becoming so desperate. And Roy sympathizes, like, yeah, you did some horrible things, but hey, I still like you. And Celia's like, what? You still like me? And said, yeah, but I did horrible things. I kidnap princess all the time. What do you think? You think just stealing a potion is any comparison to like stealing a princess? And you can even have Wendy like back him up if Star rewrites it and it adds Wendy and it's like, yeah. It's like, and plus, I steal my dad's credit card all the time. What? And then Celia's like happy. It's like, yay! And then have the ending of the story of Celia leaving Roy, saying, "Hey," kind of confirming that she may have a crush on Roy, going home, and then seeing her mom fully recovered, just engaging in conversation with Saladay, and then Celia running up and just giving her a hug, and then Ruby asking, why are you hugging me? You came in the house just to hug me? And Celia, and the story ending with Celia telling her mom that she's sorry for what happened, and she truly regrets all what she did, and she's ready to prove that she can go back into society, that she can fit into society and at least try. Like she's gonna try, like her mom's gonna try with Singe. She's willing to try and go become part of society again. I think that would have been a better way to end it. Again, Star doesn't have to do what she did. I mean, she doesn't have to do what I said. My bad. But I do think this story, more than any story I've read of hers so far, this probably has the potential to be far and away not only the best story in the series, but a really good story overall. And it's kind of sad that the whole story was kind of ruined by that ending, because I did message her saying I really liked the beginning parts of the story, but at the time I didn't get to the end yet, and once I read the ending, it's like, oh no, it's not that good. It's okay, but not that good. And it hurts because this is actually the redone version of the story is actually the most completed one, is her most recently completed one, and she really needs to work at it. If she can at least work on that ending a little bit, I can say this is a good story. I can say this is a great story. That's what hurts. So that is my review of Through Her Eyes Redux. Now, this has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.